Everybody's so angry with me. I guess that's the way it is when you're losing ground. I guess that's the way it is when you're constantly seeking new footing, a toehold. You remember a couple weeks ago it was, man, Will, the Cowboys are terrible. And then it was, well, the Cowboys gave up a top 10 pick for Amari Cooper. And then it was, yeah, but they'll never make the playoffs. And then, oh, but they can't win the division. And today it's, well, they won't win in the playoffs. And pretty soon it's going to be, well, but they can't actually win the Super Bowl. You're backsliding. You're losing ground. Your fingernails have dirt under them. You're clinging to the earth as you slide away from a firm position. But I'm good. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80, and on ESPN News. You can join the conversation, 888-729-3776. One of the truisms that had been proclaimed dead. Out there, people ringing the bell, bring out your dead. They thought they were bringing out the idea that defense could win in 2018. And that cliche, truism, whichever way you choose to subscribe, that idea is alive and well and has been proven over the last couple of weeks. Defense, it turns out, can still win in the NFL. We'll get into Rams, Bears, Ravens, Chiefs a little bit later in the show, but it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. The Dallas Cowboys take down the Philadelphia Eagles. Miracle play in overtime. Dak Prescott to Amari Cooper. And that has led, after 5 straight victories and a clear path to the NFC East and a clear road into the playoffs, that's led to questions. Questions like this. The existence even of these questions, I think, reveals just how much ground is being lost by the haters. Check this out from First Take today.
Obviously, getting Amari Cooper seems like it was a great decision. Worked out for them, clearly, right?
Clearly.
How far do you really think they can go? Because we were ranking the teams earlier. We were Saints, Rams, and there was a dispute over, is it the Bears or is it the Cowboys in terms of best teams? Obviously, the Monday night game, we know who's playing, Seahawks and Vikings. But do you feel like they could really make a run? I'm talking like winning games in the playoffs, beating some of these teams.
You asked me how far can they go. The answer is all the way. They can win it all.
Dallas Cowboys?
The Dallas Cowboys. I've told you that from day one.
Why do you have to take it that
What
far?
year are you talking about?
All the way?
Let me tell you the answer.
Oh, come on.
You asked
were just
me,
making sense.
can they? Here's the two obvious answers.
Realistically, what do you think is going to happen in the playoffs?
No. You changed the question on me.
Because I need you to be reasonable.
Change the question on me. You ask me how far can they go. Then you ask me how realistically far will they go. I answer questions the way they were asked. That was Molly Karam on First Take today. How far can the Dallas Cowboys go? After 5 straight wins, one of which was over the consensus best team in the NFL, the New Orleans Saints. How far can the Cowboys go? The answer, in all objectivity, without a shade of subjectivity, the answer, buoyed by evidence, bolstered by rock-solid pillars of argument, the answer is the Dallas Cowboys can win the Super Bowl. That's the obvious, objective, evidence-based answer. Here are your 2 reasons. One, let's go back to the idea that's been proven over the last couple of weeks. Can defense still win in the NFL? You answer that. You driving it home. Can defense win in the NFL? Or was the NFL reinvented sometime in the past 12 months? Did the Kansas City Chiefs and Los Angeles Rams, did New Orleans Saints teach us that if you can't score 50 and you don't have an MVP caliber quarterback, you can't win in the NFL? Because that's what we thought, right? We thought that in week 3, week 4, week 8. Do we think that today? After the Cowboys shut down the Saints? After the Bears shut down the Rams? After the Ravens hung tough with the Chiefs? We'll get into those games in just a little bit here on the Will Cain Show. But I think the answer, quite obviously, is the NFL has not changed. 1 year after 3 of your 4 teams in the AFC and NFC championship games were built on defense and a running game, 1 year later, and defensive teams are still taming those big-time offenses. Now, do the Cowboys have one of those defenses? Here's Ryan Clark, ESPN NFL analyst.
I think this is a championship-level defense.
Absolutely.
They get after the passer. They have linebackers that can run. You have corners that can lock up man-to-man. You can't win big-time games against the Rams, against the Bears, against the Saints if Dak Prescott plays this way. He has to play turnover-free ball, protect the ball, let your playmakers make plays. He didn't do that today.
Can you win? Do the Cowboys have what it takes to win? The answer is yes and yes. You can win with defense, number one. Do the Cowboys have that defense? Number two, the answer is yes, and it's not hypothetical. It's not theoretical. It's concrete. It's happened. They did it to the New Orleans Saints. So the answer to anyone that asks, can the Cowboys win it all, has to be yes. If you can add 1 and 1 and get to 2, then you can see the answer is yes. That game, by the way, against the Eagles and that game against the Saints, they were actually dominated by the Cowboys. Time of possession yesterday was 45-22 in favor of the Cowboys. Yards were 576-256. The only thing keeping those games in check, keeping those games close, was what Ryan Clark referenced there, is how many times will the Cowboys shoot themselves in the foot? How many times will they turn the ball over? The answer was 3-1 yesterday. How many penalties will they get? The answer was 11 for 111 yards versus 5 for 49 for the Eagles. How can the Cowboys avoid shutting down themselves? Because if they can do that, if Dak doesn't do that, if Jason Garrett doesn't do that, they can win it all. That's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. And that leads me to this. Last night I discovered a new character on this show. Actually, I discovered several. We've all come to know characters like Cerruti, who's running the show, Bubba, who runs the board, Matt Lack's filling in today because Bubba's taking the day off, and Nuno. You know Nuno. Nuno of Portugal. Pre-show Nuno. Commercial break Nuno. Nuno the Cowboy hater. We have new versions of Nuno we are being introduced to. Twitter troll Nuno. Text Nuno. Email chain Nuno. Because last night when I was watching that Cowboys-Eagles game, it pops up on my Twitter feed. Anyone that thinks the Cowboys can win a Super Bowl, anyone who would say something like I just spent the last 7 minutes telling you, anyone that would say with this quarterback, Dak Prescott, and that coach, Jason Garrett, that the Cowboys can win the Super Bowl is out of their minds. On my text, I have been branded the fraudulent preacher. You got no response from me last night. I thought it was appropriate and I thought it was the best. But why don't you go ahead and expound upon it? You can introduce us now to text Nuno, to email chain Nuno, to Twitter troll Nuno. The Cowboys can win it all. Take it away, Nuno.
I just don't. I was responding more to you and this change that you've had over the last couple weeks. That you went from.
Who did I predict to win the Super Bowl?
Early on.
Who did I predict?
You predicted the Cowboys Chargers, right?
Thank you.
And then this one happened. Like play 34079.
Not knowing where you are, not knowing who you are, how do you go through life like that? How do you do that? I don't care if you're on the wrong track. Get on a damn track. And if you have the self-awareness to actually figure out how messed up you are, at least you can make a course correction. The Cowboys don't know, man. Who are they?
Oh, boy.
Well, you know what? That was correct. Just like I'm correct today.
All right, we could continue this, but we're up against the
live
break.
read. Yeah, I can see that. I was surprised you tossed a sound, Nuno, right up against the clock. Support for the Will Cain Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a moment. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then, once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they'll lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/will. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. Man, we're all guilty of being prisoners of the moment. We're all guilty of it. And it's funny how things change week to week, month to month in the NFL. Just a few months ago, it was, you better score 50 and you better have a quarterback like Pat Mahomes. And today, as you wake up on Monday, you better start thinking about how you can play defense. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80, and on ESPN News. Let's be joined now by Super Bowl champion, ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. What's up, Jeff?
What's up, brother? I know you're feeling good today, man. I saw you earlier like a peacock just showing your feathers, man. Puffing up, baby. I see you.
Oh, yeah. I like to get the tail feathers up and walk around a little bit. Man, let me ask you a question. We've been talking about, you and I, this whole idea. Can you play defense and win? And you and I got to say, before this whole thing started to become obvious on the field, we're saying yes. And the Bears sure showed that to be true, right? They shut down the Rams. But the only really question is, Jeff, can a team like the Bears or the Cowboys or the Ravens, and they all have different offenses, but can they do that several weeks in a row in the NFL playoffs? Can they carry a team all the way?
Yeah, I think a ton of that has to do with home field advantage. I mean, you saw the Saints, who the Cowboys basically dismantled, a couple weeks ago. Then they go on the road to Tampa, and really through most of the game, almost three quarters, they play kind of lackluster offensive football. It looks like the Buccaneers are going to get after them as well. And so, yeah, I think home field advantage always helps any of those type of teams. When you start, Chicago last night, it's cold, coming from California. What are the Rams going to do? How's LA going to look at this? And they look like a deer in the headlights now. I mean, they look from the very jump. Goff never looked comfortable. The Bears did a good job of and I didn't even think it was a very confusing game plan from Vic Fangio. I thought just physically the Bears kind of at every point they got after from a defensive line versus an offensive line perspective. And on the other side with Howard, they just ground and pound right up the middle and kind of made the game uncomfortable for the Rams on both sides. I think the one thing I would say about the Cowboys, the Ravens, is protection of the football. Dak Prescott, right. He got away with some yesterday, right? I mean, he got away with some interceptions, a fumble. You look at Lamar Jackson not protecting the ball, very well in the pocket with the fumbles. Even though they get them back, you don't want to put the ball on the ground that way. So I would say that ultimately is going to be the decider. It's if you can run it well, you obviously have a chance. But at some point, your quarterback's going to have to drop back and throw it because they're going to stack the box. And can you protect it enough to let your defense carry on instead of making a mistake? But
Jeff, talking to Jeff Saturday here on the Will Cain Show, I'm not making excuses for Dak or for anyone. And but how different is that? Look at this weekend. Trubisky threw 3 interceptions. Goff threw 4, right? So there's a lot of quarterbacks turning the ball over right now when they play defenses that matter. And I know the Eagles' defense doesn't really matter right now. But
right.
There's a lot of teams that are turning the ball over in high importance games. So let me ask you this way. If you look at the NFC, Jeff, how many teams in the NFC do you think realistically can win the conference, win the NFC?
Can win it? I would say 4. I mean, I think 4 are where you would go, you would go Rams, you go Saints, you go Cowboys, you go Bears, right? I think all 4 would have a shot right into the way they're playing right now. Snapshot it, move it forward. They play this style of football. I would say those 4, you could say have a chance to do it.
Let's just do that on the other side as well. How many teams do you think have a chance to win the AFC?
I see that's a tough one for me. This thing is kind of all up in the air because the Patriots always scare everybody. But now that they don't have home field or don't know they're going to have home field, it makes them a different football team. They're not nearly as intimidating having to go on the road. The Chiefs are going to be in the mix, but teams like the Ravens scare me. The teams like if the Colts get in, they would scare me if I was a team that was kind of looking from the outside in. The Chargers obviously have played kind of that style of football. Again, the Patriots always going to have a chance. So with the Patriots losing to Miami, it really kind of threw everything into a tizzy in my mind because the Patriots at home are much more of an intimidating factor than a team that you have to face on the road when you can get them at your place.
Yeah, so it sounds like you think the AFC is more wide open. More teams could actually make their way through. So right now, the Chargers look to have one of those wild card spots locked up in the AFC. Then you got the Ravens, the Titans, the Colts, and the Dolphins all in a group to kind of fight for that last wild card spot. Of those, you named two. You said Colts and Ravens. Let's throw Titans and Dolphins in there as well. Which of those four teams do you think could make noise in the AFC playoffs?
I would say Colts would be first to me, and Ravens would be right after them. I think the Dolphins got away with one. I mean, I get the Patriots made a lot of mistakes to lose that game, not just the last play of the game. And give Adam Gase a ton of credit for getting the guys right, and they play. And then the Titans, I never know who they are. And listen, when you get into this late December and early January, you're playing playoff football, you have to be consistent. I think the Titans are a little bit different. I mean, I think the Colts have won 5 of the last 6 games, so they're hot. I like Lamar Jackson with the Ravens of kind of what they're doing. Even though they lost, I love what Suggs said of the game. We weren't coming here for a moral victory, right? We wanted to win this thing. That type of attitude and leadership will help them prevail. With that type of defense, had a 4th and 9, really a gutsy play by Mahomes and Hill to spring this one. Then on a 4th and 3, a great design. But listen, you can't live on 4th down. I mean, I get everybody's excited. You can't live on that.
No.
Again, if you know what I'm saying, those kinds of things, that's tough to come by, man. I mean, at some point the luck runs out. You have to be more consistent than that. So in my mind, those two teams in the AFC are the ones I'd be most afraid that are on the outside looking in.
Real quick, with Super Bowl champion and ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday here on the Will Cain Show, the one team in the AFC that we did not mention, neither of us brought them up in that playoff picture, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tell me what's wrong with the Steelers. Is it Mike Tomlin? Is it no Le'Veon Bell? What's the problem here?
I think it's a mix. They've gone away from their identity. Again, yesterday, a bad football team that you have to beat in Oakland, and you go away from the run game. And you know, Joshua Dobbs is playing quarterback for part of the game. I don't even understand why. He said he didn't want Rosler to come back in the flow. Whatever flow, you're 0 for 4 in drives with Dobbs, so I don't even know what that means. But whatever it means, it is. But I don't understand why you're getting away from running the football. I mean, if you understand how you win at this time of year, and especially against bad football teams, you got to wear them down. This drop back and fall in love with receivers making big plays, I get it. There's a moment, there's a time you have to do it, but at some point you got to put your foot in the ground and go run it. It helps both sides of the football. And the Steelers, when they do that, whether it's Connor, Bell, whoever it is, running back by committee, you're a better football team because you're letting the best part of your offense, which is the offensive line, exert their will. They got away from it, man. It's biting them.
It's an unforgivable loss to the Oakland Raiders. All right, man. Super Bowl champion Jeff Saturday here on the Will Cain Show. Thanks, bud.
Great talking to you, brother. Have a good one.
Take care. All right, so let's bear into this a little bit. It's worth exploring now. If the league hasn't been reinvented in 1 year's time, how far can that Bears defense carry them? Bears whooped the Rams. What does that mean we learned? Next, the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
I can't believe it.
That Philip brought his little brother on our mission into orbit.
How long until we get there? How long until we get there? How long until we get there?
No, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my car insurance with Geico.
What's this button do? What's this button do? What's this button do? What's this button do?
Don't touch that. Believe it, Geico could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The Chicago Bears didn't just beat the Los Angeles Rams last night on Sunday Night Football. They reminded us that there's still a traditional, proven way to win in the NFL, that the league hasn't been reinvented in 12 months' time. The Bears reminded us that defense still wins in the National Football League. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. Chicago Bears beat the Los Angeles Rams 15-6 last night. They held the Rams to just 214 yards. They forced Jared Goff into 4 interceptions and under 50% passing. What seemed unstoppable in September and October, what seemed impossible to defend when the weather was warm and everything was working, all of a sudden seems vulnerable. Like I said on First Take when the Cowboys shut down the Saints, Arnold Schwarzenegger realized in Predator, if it bleeds, you can kill it. It's clear these offenses bleed. And if that's the case, defenses like Chicago, maybe the Ravens, maybe the Cowboys can shut down these offenses. Here's Matt Nagy, Bears head coach, on the play of his defense. Listen.
Our play on defense, for me, all I could say was wow. I know it was one that I haven't seen in a long, long time against such a powerful opponent. Our guys stepped up to the challenge, and that was what was important to us. We talked all week about we and not me.
It truly is amazing to watch this happen. It truly is amazing, even though we should have expected it. Look, we're all prisoners of the moment. We are. We're prisoners of September. We're prisoners of October. We're prisoners of a year thinking the league is being reinvented. I'm guilty of it. I know. I go through the emotional roller coasters of my team. I go through the emotional roller coasters of what we see. And for what it's worth, Nuno, who thinks he calls me out, I just want to read you this tweet, Nuno, from a real clear-eyed thinker. Michael Tipton says, "Hey, Nuno, if not for people like Will Cain urging the Cowboys and pushing them to find their identity, they wouldn't be Super Bowl contenders. Thank you, Will. Thank you from all of us." You're welcome. It's all? It's all? That one? But it wasn't just the Bears. And it wasn't just the Cowboys against the Saints. I'm going to tell you something. That Ravens game yesterday against the Chiefs was another lesson that defenses can deal with these high-powered offenses. I realized it in the end. Some Pat Mahomes magic ensured another W for the Chiefs. I realized that the Ravens took a loss. But if you're a Ravens fan, or you're a fan of just defense in general, you've got to look at that game and come out encouraged. With a minute and a half to go, the Chiefs had only scored 17 points. It came down to, as Jeff Saturday said, 2 fourth-down plays for Pat Mahomes to pull that game out for the Chiefs. And yeah, they ended up with over 400 yards of offense, but it just can't be overstated how awesome Mahomes was throughout that game. So, the Cowboys defense against the Saints, the Bears against the Rams, the Ravens against the Chiefs. I am a firm believer that you can still, in December, in January, go on the road, not just at home, and play defense the way these teams did and win. Win enough to win it all. I'm not saying one of these teams like the Rams or the Chiefs won't win the Super Bowl. That's a distortion of the logic if that's how you come out of this. What it is the idea that defense is, I was told that by Jason Fitz, who co-hosts Spain and Fitz after this show on ESPN Radio. That he told me the idea that defense wins is dead. It's a done cliche. It's over. No. That idea that we've reinvented the league, that is what's dead here. Will the Bears go on the road at some point to LA or New Orleans and win? We'll see. Will they win it all? We'll see. But what we know is these offenses can be shut down. It's not the only way to win in 2018. Listen to Rams coach Sean McVay.
Consistently, over and over, I continually put our players in bad spots. Certainly a humbling night, but it's one that you get a chance to look at yourself critically, find a way to get better, move forward accordingly, and that's exactly what we're going to do. That's all I know how to do, and I've got to be better for our football team, but this loss is on me. I didn't do nearly a good enough job for us today, and I trust that we'll respond the right way.
He's right. And man, you got to love Sean McVay, even in a loss. He gave the ball to Todd Gurley 11 times in a game that was crying for a running game. Sean McVay could have done better. He could have put the Rams in a better position to succeed. But the Bears have to go home knowing not only are they a good team, but they have a formula that can win in the NFL. What's up, Cerruti?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong. I think on any given Sunday, like, these defenses can show up. And the one thing that I take issue with you is both of these times when it was the Saints losing to your Cowboys and then the Bears going and beating the Rams is that they were home. Those teams were at home. And they're not going to be at home in the playoffs. And the way that it's shaping up, the road to the NFC is going to go through New Orleans more likely than not, right? And I just don't see that happening. I don't see these defenses picking up on the road and playing that way in the Superdome. I looked at last night and I go, okay, maybe the Rams are a little bit soft. Maybe they're not as good as we thought. But it's easy to do that, I believe, when you're in Chicago and the weather's 29 degrees and it's a California team coming east. I just don't believe that could happen in the playoffs.
Well, the other day we had Darren Woodson on the show and he told us the maxim, the truism is that defense travels. Defense should be able to play like that on the road. Why do you doubt that they could be able to do that in some place like the Superdome or do that in LA?
Because historically, the Superdome, the Saints, Drew Brees is a different quarterback in the Superdome than he is on the road. Anywhere, it doesn't matter, indoor, outdoor, whatever. And I think the Rams are much more. They epitomize LA. They epitomize California, and they are just going to play better in that weather and at their home stadium. And I think the Bears and your Cowboys can put up fights, but again, we talked about this last week or in the week before. Can they do it 3 times in a row?
I think look, that one is a tougher question for me. That one I think is more difficult prediction than can they travel and play defense like that. I think they can travel and play LA or New Orleans in the Superdome, in LA at the Coliseum, or at home in Chicago. I think they'll be able to play that way. Will they be able to string 3 games together like that is the better question. These offenses will show up sooner or later. These offenses will play at some point, will score like we've come to expect them. But I don't know. I don't know if these defenses can do it 3 times in a row. And in that case, when that happens, like by the way, in the NFC Championship game, what happened is one of those defenses finally gave way, and you need an offense to step up. Can Mitch Trubisky, can Dak Prescott, can Lamar Jackson step up and score enough points when that defense does?
I just don't believe that. You look at historically when teams with great defenses win or go to the Super Bowl, they also have Russell Wilson. They have the Broncos with Peyton Manning. They had great quarterbacks as well.
Well, that was Russell Wilson. That was a young Russell Wilson that wasn't established as great at that time.
Do you think Mitch Trubisky or Dak Prescott can do that? I mean, I just don't.
I think we're going to have a long discussion about Dak. I think who is Dak Prescott? We need to really figure that one out. Let's put him on the couch. That and oh my God, the Eagles season is over. This is a massive failure, a massive travesty from Super Bowl champion to out of the playoffs. That's next on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I see what's going on here. I see. Just proving the narrative that I'm against the entire company, including my own production staff, pulling out clips of me to hold me accountable for opinions I might have had. Here's the thing, okay? Cerruti, Nuno, who's ever pulling those clips. I'm still not wrong. I'm right all the way through, okay? What I am now telling you today is the Dak Prescott versus Carson Wentz debate is much closer than anyone wants to admit. That you line it up, fourth quarter comebacks, game-winning drives, QBR and clutch situations, and it's Dak that's come out on top. Now, am I going to sit here today and tell you definitively Dak is better than Carson Wentz? No. But you know what most people suggest, what most people do? They laugh at the idea that Dak versus Carson Wentz is a debate. They act like I'm the most ridiculous homer for entertaining this. But data and stats are starting to back me up. I actually think I'm perfectly consistent on this.
Well, no one is. The reason this is brought up on November 6th, you were emphatic about this. And now all of a sudden.
Emphatic about what?
About that Dak, that the debate's over, Wentz is better than Dak.
Nope. I would never have said the debate's over. I would never have said that. I know me. I would not say that. I would not say the debate's over. I would never say that. You show me tape where
you said you were completely wrong, right? That's what we just heard. So now all of a sudden, Wentz has struggled. He's coming off a major injury. Wentz has struggled.
Here come the
Dak
excuses.
hasn't looked great.
No. We're not even scheduled to have this debate here, but you wanted to just pick a fight. That's what you wanted to do.
I did.
You just wanted to pick a fight. Fine, let's do it. Andrew from Arkansas. What's up, Andrew? You're on the Will Cain Show.
How you doing, Will, man? It's great to talk to you. I just had a question. It's actually regarding Dak Prescott. I'm hearing a lot of TV analysts and just, you on First Take this morning, I'm hearing a lot of people say that Dak Prescott can win for you. It's just he needs a lot of help. And my question to you is, who is winning without a lot of help? The Rams got just as good as running game as the Cowboys. They got just as much talent on offense. What is it that Dak Prescott needs that other quarterbacks don't need? Because Carson Wentz's team was so good last year, the backup quarterback won a Super Bowl with the number 4 ranked defense and the number 6 running game. Which one of these quarterbacks are going out here winning with nothing? Because everybody only seems to point out that Dak needs help. And it looks to me like every young quarterback in the NFL needs help besides Aaron Rodgers and maybe Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Like, I don't get where that's coming from. It seems like Dak is the only one being held to that standard.
It's just a great call, Andrew. It's just a real smart observation. I'm not being patronizing in the slightest bit. It's just on point. Here's what I'd say. That narrative that Dak Prescott needs help comes from two places. One, that his play tailed off when Ezekiel Elliott was hurt last year and through the first half of this year when he didn't have a wide receiver of any high-level talent to throw to. But you're right. What quarterback does perform well when he doesn't have help around him? What you're essentially saying there is Dak Prescott's not Aaron Rodgers. Dak Prescott's not Tom Brady. That's a standard that you're not holding a lot of people to. Now, do I think Pat Mahomes would perform better? I do. I think he's a better quarterback. But you can't, it's an unknown because Pat Mahomes has been surrounded by talent. Absolutely surrounded by talent his entire career. Jared Goff, surrounded by talent. Running back, receiver, his entire career. Drew Brees has Alvin Kamara and Melvin Ingram and Michael Thomas. So I think
hold on.
I think it's an amazing point. What?
So you're saying, like, if Dak was on the Chiefs or the Rams, like, you think he would be putting up the numbers that Goff and Mahomes are putting up?
This is where you take an argument and you turn it into something else.
Well, you were like, we don't know.
What
we don't
Andrew?
know that he
What Andrew give Andrew his full credit. What Andrew is pointing out, and I think is an absolute truism, is it said, well, Dak can't win without help. Why don't you help me out, Cerruti? Which quarterbacks have proven they can win without help?
No, I mean, not even Aaron Rodgers now.
Okay, then why is that always like a piece of evidence held above Dak
Because
Prescott?
you got help with Amari Cooper, and he's still not playing that well. Like it's mostly Amari and Zeke.
Let me I'm gonna read you this, okay? I'm gonna throw a lot of stuff at you, but it's probably I'm gonna whip your butt in about 60 seconds, and it's gonna make you dizzy, and you're gonna be like Mike Tyson right now, and I'm Buster Douglas. I'm just absolutely throwing them all over you. So I want you to be careful here, okay?
Let's go.
Since 2016, I want you to tell me who has won the most games in the NFL, period. Most regular season games since 2016.
You want me to just take a random?
It's not hard.
Dak?
No, it's Tom Brady. What's
Okay.
wrong with you? It's 32 wins for Tom Brady.
Okay.
Guess who's third?
Your boy.
No, come on. You're bad at this game. It's Ben Roethlisberger. The Steelers have been winning a lot, right? Tom Brady won, Ben Roethlisberger third. Now guess who's second?
Your boy.
Dak Prescott. 30 wins. 30 wins. Only
cool. A lot to show for it.
Only behind Tom Brady. Now, how many game-winning drives in his career does Dak Prescott have?
We're doing this thing again.
13.
Okay.
How many does Carson Wentz have? 4. Dak Prescott's QBR.
You love that stat. Why do you only?
Hold on.
That's like your only quarterback said,
Dak Prescott's QBR in those game-winning drives, 83. Carson Wentz, 60. And by the way, Dak Prescott's 83. It's the highest of any quarterback since 2006.
Great. So sign of that monster contract. You're not worried at all. There we go.
No, I didn't say any of that. It's funny how you guys you're losing. So now you start. You got dirt under your fingernails. You're like scratching now.
No, because what are you saying? What are you saying? Like you're giving me all these stats that say, as Dak's actually this underrated, awesome quarterback who's probably going to be a great franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. And I know you don't believe that. I know you have many questions about him.
I definitely have questions about Dak. I have concerns. I think that game would be a blowout if he can hit Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper for that matter on some wide open plays down the field. I think that he shouldn't be turning the ball over like he is. But you know what I also think? I think that look, you guys want to call me a homer, and that's fine because I am a homer. But I wear every single up and down. I feel it. But you know what's true? You watch that game and Carson Wentz misses wide open receivers down the field for touchdowns. He had Alshon Jeffrey for a touchdown. Missed him. Carson Wentz does it all the time. Other quarterbacks do it all the time. In fact, 26%. That's the average in the NFL of passes 30 yards downfield in the air, all in the air. Completing 26%. That's the league average. Where's Dak? Right at league average. I'm just telling you, I have concerns about Dak. I'm not sold that he's the next Patrick Mahomes for that matter. Certainly not the next Drew Brees. But this idea that there are other quarterbacks that are, like Carson Wentz or Jared Goff, I'm just telling you right now, this debate's much closer than you want to believe. This debate's really close, in fact. Because Dak, he's a winner. We have to stop judging 14-year-olds' tweets. Next on the Will Cain Show. 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 Next on the Will Cain Show.